That's right. The last half hour of this will forever be a mystery.
Okay, it's going.
Okay. This is one of the most remarkable books. My favorite poet, in fact, I based my doctoral dissertation on his poetry. Rainer Maria Rilke wrote these letters to a young man who sent him some poems, and he said, "What do you think of these?" And so they start this correspondence, and it's an incredible correspondence. Rilke's correspondence in general, if you get a chance to read it, oh my God, it's, to me, as much as I love his poetry, his correspondence is even better. So there's this volume that's been very popular. A lot of people have read this and know about it, but it's called Letters to a Young Poet. So this is Rilke's responses to these missives this young man had sent him. And he talks about mystery a lot. Not maybe with that particular word. But he's talking about a particular experience, and this particular experience is sorrow and grief, but I think it applies to just about any experience. And he says, often we don't really know what it is. And he says we could easily be made to believe that nothing had happened. And yet we have been changed, as a house is changed into which a guest has entered. We cannot say who has come. Perhaps we shall never know. But there are many indications to suggest that the future is entering into us in this manner in order to transform itself within us long before it happens. The more patient, quiet, and open we are in our sorrowing, the more deeply and the more unhesitatingly will the new thing enter us. The better we shall deserve it, the more it will be our own destiny. And when one day later it happens, that is, goes forth from us to others, we shall feel in our inmost selves that we are akin and close to it, that it is necessary. It is necessary, and in that direction our development will gradually move, that nothing alien shall befall us, but only that which has always been long a part of us. And he says, how should we not find that difficult? That's a hard thing to do. We have no cause to be mistrustful of our world, for it is not against us. If it has terrors, they are our terrors. If it has abysses, those abysses belong to us. If dangers are there, we must strive to love them. And if only we regulate our life according to that principle which advises us, always hold to the difficult. There's overtones of Nietzsche in that.
Oh, there are.
Always hold to the difficult. What even now appears most alien to us will become most familiar and loyal. How could we forget those old myths which are to be found in the beginnings of every people? The myths of the dragons which are transformed at the last moment into princesses.
Bing.
Perhaps all the dragons of our lives are princesses who are only waiting to see us once, beautiful and brave. Perhaps everything terrifying is at bottom the helplessness that seeks our help.
When Alice grabbed the Red Queen who was giving her holy hell and said, I'm not taking this anymore, she turned into a kitten. That's what
that is.
Yes.
It's like action and perception changes. When we act, our perception changes.
And when we act in a particular way, we have to act not through the organ of
Fear, resistance.
this organ of intellect, but rather through this organ of intellect. That's where we have to act. The heart has all kinds of neural connections. It's a thinking, perceiving organ. And when we open ourselves to the world through the organ of the heart, that's the kind of action that Rilke's talking about. That's the thing that transforms the terrifying into princesses.
Isn't that love
Yes,
that turns
yes,
the terrifying into the princess?
yes.
And if you don't ever go to that place and have that feeling, whatever it is, then and you always block it off.
You always block it off, and it always remains
And then you
terrifying.
keep your shell.
Yeah.
There was a book, I'm recalling, I hadn't thought about it for a long time, that I read as a kid, and it had to do, oh, it must have been Pilgrim's Progress, I think it must have been. I read a lot of things when I was a kid. See Spot run, run Spot run. More than that. Which is that Christian was his name, this hero of the story. He had no armor on his back, so he had to face things. He only had armor on his front, as I'm recalling. And seems to me the time now is no armor at all. We're just wide open. You know, I like that old samurai saying, the best defense is complete vulnerability. And that's another way of saying what you just read.
Mm-hmm.
That we're not defending against a dragon, and the dragon is all of a sudden a princess or a prince, whatever the gender.
Yeah.
I love that. No wonder you like Rilke. You're the one that made me go buy his books and read him. And I do not regret it.
Yeah.
There's a symbol that I really like, and it comes in a blending of the East and the West. There has been, they're blending now, there has been a separation that has been of Western consciousness and Eastern consciousness. And the symbol of Western consciousness has been the cross. Symbol of Eastern consciousness has been empty circle and circle. Back in 1981, I woke from a powerful dream with the words directly to me. Accept, no, confront is the way it started. Confront the lion in his den. Confront the lion in his den, right where he lives. His den, not your own space. Go in there where the lion is. Confront the lion in his den. Accept the empty circle. I had no idea what that meant at the time. The blending of these two symbols is the Celtic cross.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's a cross with a circle. Now we know that circle, Nicholas of Cusa said it, he may have said it first, but Meister Eckhart picked it up, and so did Carl Jung and others.
Mm-hmm.
And it's worth repeating that God is a circle with no circumference, whose center is everywhere. Whose center is everywhere. Center is everywhere, with no circumference. So the circle and the cross. So that symbol of this, we live on the horizontal plane, which as I'm understanding is the chessboard. The horizontal plane. There's linear time. We think, I tend to agree, I do agree more with you, or with you exactly, that we can't go back there. And I'll go further, we can't go there either, in the future. We're here, this is where we are. So there's linear time, and we play with that. And we've been living in linear time a lot, the horizontal time. And in a certain sense, it's death, because when we die, we go horizontal. And the the vertical plane, of course, is this way. And it's energy streaming up and down. It's Jacob's ladder with angels ascending and descending, the energies that we are. It's the caduceus with the interweaving of the healing circles that we are, that move through us. And so there are these energies moving through us up and down. Well, the circle added to it takes it out of up and down and makes it everywhere. And there is no direction, and they're all directions.
That's great. That's great. Because that incorporates everything.
It incorporates everything.
Metaphor from here to here, that horizontal plane.
Yeah.
Diaphor from here to here,
Ah,
or here to here, however
Yeah,
you want to do it,
both
that
ways.
vertical plane. And then perichoresis is the circle that encompasses.
I'm glad you wove that in there. That's beautiful. Yes, it's perichoresis, the dance. And it blends east and west, which has been happening for some time now.
Yeah.
So that's a beautiful symbol. I like that symbol. And to be that, to live on the horizontal plane, the chessboard,
Mm-hmm.
to not ignore it because here it is,
Mm-hmm.
and yet perhaps to regard it as the unconscious.
Yeah.
To regard the horizontal plane as now as the unconscious. We used to regard it as the conscious state, but when we're being born into this new world, the world that's opening now, perhaps we see it as unconscious state, and our consciousness resides elsewhere.
Where?
You started it.
Well, you finish it.
I don't think there's separation. It is everywhere. And everything, I mean, it sounds solipsistic, but it's really not. It's not meant to be perceived in that way, because it's not a kind of a clever attempt at confounding or providing an answer, because I don't think there is an answer. So when we talk about consciousness and unconsciousness, we're really talking about the same thing. It's not separate. It's not like consciousness is out here and unconsciousness is in here or in any other combination. And it's, again, it's simply moving through the entirety of consciousness. And the entirety of consciousness we can't be aware of all at once. And so we're moving through, and we have experiences that sort of illuminate this area of consciousness and this area of consciousness. And so what we have to start doing is stop saying that, well, this experience over here isn't real. If you experience having a conversation with an angel, let's say the way Swedenborg did, and you say, that's not real, that's not correct, really.
And you cut yourself off from great energy.
Yeah. And so one asks, what is that? And rather than just say, okay, because Swedenborg had this experience, I'll accept that as fact, you say, well, how can I have that experience? What do I need to do to have this experience? And this is where we keep ourselves, I think, on track as a species rather than destroy ourselves, because we don't just simply say, okay, I don't have to know about that personally because so-and-so's had this experience and can tell me all about it. Well, I don't have the experience of angels like Swedenborg had. I have the experience of other kinds of energies and things like that can be described differently and have been described differently. But if we say this is how it must be, and then if you're having this kind of experience that's different than this, then you're wrong.
Then you have a church.
Yes. Or an institution of any kind.
That's what I mean, an institution.
Yes. My teacher was fond of saying that Jesus preached the kingdom of heaven and got the church. Jung preached the psyche and got the Jung Institute.
Oh, my Lord.
We gotta make it into something.
Yes, we have to literalize it somehow.
There's a story about a man, he lived, I don't know, it was the 1400s or somewhere back in there. But he had a donkey, and he was a merchant, and he lived over in what we call the Mideast. And he would load the donkey up, which was the donkey's job, and the donkey accepted it gratefully because the man knew how to do it well, at no harm or pain to the donkey. They were really close, good friends. And they would go trekking across the desert to the places where other people lived and trade goods and come back with these goods and trade those. Well, they would go back and forth, and people got accustomed to seeing them. And then one day they were out in the middle of their trek, going from this place to that place, and the donkey had become old, and he had died. Well, the man was quite sorrowful. So he dug a very deep hole, and he reverently placed the donkey's body there. And he covered it up. And then he put some stones atop it, just a few, and went on his way. And he got a new donkey, you know, it wasn't the same, but he loved his new donkey, and so, you know, you do what you do. And every time he would come that way, he would place another stone on that donkey's grave, and he would kneel there in prayer and appreciation for the life of his friend, and go on his way. Well, other people began to notice this. They said, there's a holy man out there in the desert, and he's stopping at this sacred spot. And so they began stopping and began putting stones there too. Well, you know, 100 years went by, time goes by, and the story grew, the stones grew, and by that time the man was long gone, and the donkey had decomposed to nothingness. They decided to get up some money and build a temple there, and they built this big fancy temple, and no one knew that that temple was based upon the love of a man for his donkey. Just a little thing like that. He loved his donkey. And then it just kept going and spread outward in all directions. You know, that's what we do. We just live our lives. We love who we love. We love everyone if we can. Those we can't, we go, well, bless your sweetheart. Stay over there. I'll be over here. That's okay. We keep loving though. And whether or not a temple is built on our love does not matter. Long ago I heard this old preacher on the radio. I was driving across Georgia, long time ago. His name was Lester Roloff. And Lester Roloff said, and it just stuck with me, he says, don't look at the fruit, stay with the root. That makes sense. So when we are trying in our consciousness state to build something and create something, when we're trying, you know how try is. Like trying to get up from the chair is different from getting up from the chair. When we try to make something happen and we try to change the world, it doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah. And I was just thinking while you were talking, I was looking at some images that the Hubble telescope had taken. These beautiful structures that exist in the universe. And I was thinking that here we can look deeply into this thing that we call the universe. But really what it is a mystery. And we call it a universe. And then we think we know what we're talking about.
We do.
when all there is to be experienced is this wonder through looking.
Except you become as a little child. You
Mhm.
shall not enter the kingdom of heaven.
Mhm.
You know, the mystery. Without labels, no labels.
Mhm.
That's beautiful. I love the way that both our readings and consciousnesses have gone over the years, even before we met physically, and you began to understand and know each other, that we've read deeply into the Eastern literature, India, Greece, Persia,
Mhm.
etc.,
Mhm.
and bringing those together with some kind of understanding.
Well, I think where we really connected, we're in the area of Sufi teachings, and
Mm-hmm.
Ibn Arabi, and the Sufi poets like Rumi and Hafiz, and those people who really valued and allowed the mystery to be a mystery, the way that
Yes.
the way that Frost does.
It didn't blot out anything. I got Rumi has his writings in their volumes. The Masnawi, I think, I've never heard it pronounced, but that's the way I pronounce it. And so I ordered R.A. Nichols' rendition translations into English of Rumi, and I got these volumes. And I was so excited, and I got it and opened up and I started reading it. It was really good. And then I got to this one place. Now I knew the story. All of a sudden it goes into Latin. Nichols won't translate it. It's Latin. Oh, what is that? So I got these other renditions. Has to do with sex. Just couldn't put it in English.
Talk about mystery.
That's right.
He was afraid a child would pick it up and read it.
That's what we do though. We say, we can't go there.
Can't go there.
But if you're going to know about the mystery, there has to be a trespass.
Rumi went everywhere.
Yeah.
There's a story. This story just cracks me up. Part of me says, don't tell it. That's a good sign, just tell it. Rumi tells this story. There's this captain of a militia of this sheik, and he's sent out on a mission. The sheik has fallen in love with this beautiful woman, and he's only seen an artist rendition, but he's deeply in love with her, and so he sends the captain out to go get her and bring her back. She's willing to come. And so the captain goes with the captain, and the woman fall in love. And Rumi says they were in a tent in the desert and making strong and wonderful love. And some of the captain's men start yelling, "There's a lion out here!" And so the captain says, "Excuse me a little bit," and jumps up, and with this huge erection goes roaring out into the night, slays the lion, and comes running back with his erection singing in the wind. He comes back in and says, "Where were we?"
He didn't have to ask. He knew.
Oh, thank you. And so they get to they're both going, "Oh no, what are we going to tell the sheik? What are we going to tell him?" And so we got to tell him the truth. And the story goes from there, and how it all worked out well. But what I get out of this is that we have great energies, and that we're not to deny those energies, and that when we're called into battle with anything, which it's part of ourselves, to run in with those energies, you know. And what we're doing is we're both slaying and making love. It gets back to that thing of destruction and creation.
Well, this is pointing to that quality that there is an aspect of life that is inexhaustible. Right?
That's what I'm trying to say.
The Greeks had two words: bios, which is like the normal daily life that would take place and go on, and zoe. And zoe was this inexhaustible, indistinguishable utterly, eruptive, persistent quality of life.
ZOE,
Mhm.
eruptive, IRR,
Yes.
eruptive.
Yes. And this is the god Dionysus. And Dionysus was, in fact, I think, probably the most relevant god to the Greeks. I mean, Zeus, of course, was sort of the executive, the CEO
Kind of like King Arthur.
of the pantheon. Yeah, but Dionysus was in practice the one that was paid attention
It was
to.
right here.
Much, I think, for that quality, that inextinguishable, inexhaustible quality of life. That life always finds a way. I mean, that's part of the mystery. And if we're really fortunate, we don't have to like segment that or compartmentalize that mystery. One of my favorite stories is Ikkyu. In the Zen stories, Ikkyu was always the holy fool. And one day his friends come across him after a night, prowling the bars, and Ikkyu is on all fours underneath a street lamp. And so they say, what are you doing? He said, well, I lost the key to my house. Right? And so they all get down on all fours and help him look. And they can't find it. They've looked for a long time. And one of them thinks to say, well, do you have any idea where exactly you might have lost it? And he said, oh yeah, back in that alley over there. And they said, well, why are you looking here? The light's better. And that's what we do. Instead of going,
Instead of looking in the dark,
we stay where the light is good.
we get afraid of the dark.
And we're afraid of that energy too.
Yeah.
That inextinguishable, vibrating, radiantness. We're afraid,
Yes.
I'm afraid of it.
Yeah.
It's like dangerous.
And this is what Freud pointed out, actually, in his wisdom. And he was a very wise man in a lot of ways. And he talked about the instinct that we have to life, that he called eros, and he talked about the death instinct as well. Other psychoanalysts later than Freud called it thanatos. Freud never called it that, he called it the death instinct. And he said these things are in competition with one another. And they are legitimate experiences of being alive, a living human being. And death deserves to be recognized as a part of life. And when we fail to do that, we give it more authority and more power than it rightly requires.
They are in competition or in conflict with, not competition necessarily, but conflict with each other, and one is both of them.
Yeah.
An old Zen saying that the samurai open to is, be dead, be thoroughly dead, then do as you like, and all is well.
Yes, and Sufis too say you must die into your life.
I see it as the same, I like that, die into your life.
Mm-hmm.
I see it the same as lay up your treasures in heaven. That, what are you going to do if a person is already dead? You can't do anything to them. Not a doggone thing. There's no fear anywhere. One more story.
Sure.
It's very brief. It's a Rumi story. Rumi says that he's in a tavern. He's on the chessboard. He's in the tavern, and he's getting gloriously drunk, which of course is a metaphor for he's just open spirit. And he says he's so drunk that whoever brought him here has to take him home.
That's beautiful. Yeah, Rumi uses that tavern metaphor a lot for just the experience of being in the world. This physical experience of being alive is like being in a tavern and being intoxicated by it. So you're distracted from the reality of who and what you are. You're there and you're drunk. You're in the tavern. It's a great time. It's a party. And so when he says, whoever brought me here is going to have to bring me home, this is that acknowledgement that, wow, there's something that's much bigger than this.
That is my surfboard in the interminable ocean.
Yeah.
Whoever brought me here will have to take me home. If I can't rely on anything, I just rely on that.
Yeah.
Whoever brought me here will have to take me home.
Yeah, it's a marvelous.
Well, we should probably stop here by Earth time. It's a little after 4. Thank you for talking.
Thank you, my friend.